Hello Reds and welcome to Top of the Cop. I think it's fair to say that the title defence that Liverpool have put up this year has been probably one of the worst title defences in Premier League history, and I'll leave it up to you to decide why that is, whether it's injuries or a squad that hasn't been freshened up, so to speak, for numerous years. And I think it's quite obvious that recruitment is going to be pivotal this summer for Klopp and Edwards. The squad's ageing. Its actual average age is around 26.5 years old. And although that's not a major issue, when you look at teams like Chelsea, theirs is just over 25. They've got quite a lot of good young players in that squad already that obviously over the next few years are only going to get better. Man City's average age is lower than ours, as is United's, even Everton's is. And although it's not a major issue if we're just talking half a year average or a year average, this year has shown that we just need a freshen up, and there is quite a lot of amazing young talents out there that Liverpool could obviously try and snap up before any of our competitors do, and we're going to take a little look at them today. Now obviously we couldn't go out and sign all these players. Not all these players are available now, especially after COVID. Not everybody's going to have loads of money to spend, so I don't expect Liverpool to go out and sign all 8, but maybe over the next 3 or 4 years have a plan to pick up young talent across European football. And I think these players should be on the lips of obviously Klopp, Edwards, and we should be showing an interest of some sort. Now I'm going to break it down into positions, so I've got a couple of centre-backs, a couple of centre-mids, a winger and a striker or two. And I just think in those areas, we could, along with the current squad, I think it could set us up very nicely, over the next 5 to 10 years. And if you do enjoy today's Top of the Cop video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more Liverpool content. And with that being said, let's get into it. Right, firstly we're going to talk about centre-backs. Now, when you take into consideration obviously the centre-back situation at Liverpool at the moment, I think it's fair to say we definitely need 1, maybe 2, depending on budgets and things. Van Dijk and Gomez have been missing for the best part of the season. Matip's been in and out with injuries, his future is unknown, and Kabak's in on loan. Now, the first player I want to talk about is Ibrahima Konate. I've mentioned him in a previous video. It looks like Liverpool have got their man already, to be fair. It looks like it's just a case of actually paying Leipzig the fee that they want. He wants to move. It's a 5-year contract. I'll be very surprised if this doesn't go through. It'd be a bit disrespectful to start talking about players leaving. So I think that deal is done. But I don't think we should stop there. But yeah, what can I say about him? I talked about him in a recent video about 5 centre-backs Liverpool should look at. He was number 3. The only reason he was number 3 was just because of his injury concerns. But from what I've heard since then, even though he was out for a long period of time with his injuries, that's not as bad as having several small injuries apparently. So, he's got plenty of time. He's young. He can get over them, and obviously Klopp and Edwards wouldn't take a chance if they thought for 1 second that his injuries were going to be a problem down the line. But the second player, which is another centre-back that I want to talk about, actually made number 2 in that list, and that is Ajax's Per Schuurs. Now, I don't expect us to be in for him this season, maybe not even next season, especially if we're signing Konate and potentially signing Kabak. But Majori's still out on Kabak. He has had a few good performances, but there are a few games where I've thought he's looked a bit shaky, he's not being switched on. And if he's currently playing out of his skin to earn a move to Liverpool, and this is the best we've got of him, it might not be in our best interest to sign him. But I know what a lot of people are going to say when I say those things. They're going to say he's young, 18 million's a snip, Klopp will work with him. That's great. If Liverpool did sign him, I'd be more than happy. But if we're looking further down the line and obviously looking at somebody for the next, say 5 or 10 years, you've got Van Dijk for obviously now. If Joe Gomez can overcome his injury problems, he's still only 23, let's not forget that. Konate, 21. And Per Schuurs is also only 21. So I just think if we had 3, although young centre-backs in Gomez, Schuurs and Konate alongside Van Dijk, they are very experienced, especially in European football as well. And I just think that would set us up, as I say, for the foreseeable. And it'll also stop any centre-back crisis from happening again. As I say, Konate looks done. I don't expect Schuurs anytime soon, but it would be nice if we were looking at him in a few years' time. Now the second position I want to look into is centre mid. Now, yeah, we've got Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago, but then after that, you know, Milner's getting old now. Wijnaldum looks like he's on his way out. Keita's future is very much up in the air. A lot of people think that he's done. I still think he might have a future, but it does seem that the Premier League might be a bit too much for Keita. I hope I'm wrong over that. But, you know, Henderson's not getting any younger. Fabinho, obviously, you know, he's 27, so he's still got quite a few years left. But Thiago, you know, is the other side of 30 as well now. So we do need to freshen up in the centre mid positions. And I've actually got 3 centre mids, 2 midfielders, 1 centre attacking mid that I really want to discuss today. And the first one is another Ajax player, and that is Ryan Gravenberch, I want to say. This guy is mustard. Honestly, he is absolutely fantastic. He's 18 years old. He played against us in the Champions League, played centre mid. Don't get me wrong, he didn't set the world alight in the sense of running the show, but, you know, he did cause Henderson and the midfield a few problems. He would be a perfect replacement for Wijnaldum if Wijnaldum is to leave, but he is just a complete midfielder. He's got what Wijnaldum's got in his pace and the ability to turn on a sixpence, but he is a bit more creative, he gets goals, and he's very good at reading the game in a defensive aspect as well. And at 18 years old, he's already playing Champions League football, and I just think he's a perfect Klopp investment. Let's just say, for instance, he cost the best part of 40 or 50 million now. Working with Klopp for the next 5 or 6 seasons, he's only going to improve, his value's only going to go up. And with him being Dutch, you know, we have got Van Dijk at the club, so he 100% would be interested in a move to Liverpool. And I just think he's one of them players that we could snap up before any of the obviously Spanish clubs or your Man United or City start coming in for him. And again, with him being 18 years old, I think it sets us up for the next decade. Now the second centre mid is in the same type of mould as Gravenberch, and that is Jude Bellingham. Now I do understand, you know, he's only just signed for Dortmund. Again, this is a player that we should be looking at, you know, in 2 to 3 years time. He's 17 years old. He plays like he's 27. When I watch him play, I cannot believe how young he is. Him and Phil Foden are going to be the future for the England setup. The team's going to be built around them too. You know, I have got no issues with those two even starting in the Euros. Never mind, you know, in 5 to 6 years. I think Jude Bellingham is going to be probably a future England captain, especially if he comes back to the Premier League and stars in one of the Premier League teams. And I just hope that when he is linked with a move away from Dortmund to come back to the Premier League, I really hope Liverpool are in a position to offer him a move he can't turn down. I hope we're obviously back in the Champions League, winning league titles, cups, doing well in the Champions League, having amazing young talents at the club that would want to make him join. He is similar to the way that obviously Ryan Gravenberch plays as well. They're the same type of players, so having those two in midfield over the next 2 or 3 years would just be an absolute dream. Our centre mids again are obviously an ageing area of the team, and freshening up with 2 young lads to play alongside Fabinho and Henderson now, and even Thiago for the next 2 or 3 years. They'd learn so much. They're already playing ahead of the years, and honestly, when the time comes, I'd send Dortmund a blank cheque and just tell them to write their own price, because he'll be worth every single penny if he carries on with the hunger and desire that he's shown since he's left Birmingham City. Now the third centre mid, Dortmund fans aren't going to like this, but I do think Gio Reyna is an absolute baller. He's 18 years old, he plays in that hole, and you know, he's the biggest player to come out of the USA since Pulisic, and obviously we missed the boat on that. But you know, we've got FSG as owners. What more of a statement and a marketing opportunity is to sign a player who got voted US Soccer's Young Male Player of the Year last year. Not only would be getting a great player, they'd be signing obviously their country's future in obviously the world of football. And I just think, again, if you could get him over the next year or two like the others, working around obviously the experience that we've got in midfield now, you know, Gio Reyna would learn so much from a player like Thiago. And again, you know, 18 years old, he'd be perfect for Klopp to work with. Would he be interested in a move to Liverpool? If we were in the Champions League and obviously pushing, of course he would, you know, who wouldn't? But it's one of those type of things. It's a player that's going to have a lot of interest over the next 2 or 3 years, as is every one of these players in this list. But again, I think if Liverpool get ahead of this and take a look at him and obviously test the water, then we could have a cracking youngster in Reyna. And you know, he was born in Sunderland, so maybe Henderson can have a word on behalf of the club and get him signed up. Now the last 3 are attacking options. And the first is a wide man, and that is Jadon Sancho. Now, he's English, he's obviously playing at Dortmund at the moment. The experience he's getting playing at Dortmund at the age of 21 is ridiculous. You know, he's shown that he is capable of walking into any Premier League team now. And, you know, if we have a look at the situation we've got at Liverpool at the moment, we've obviously got Mane, Salah and Jota, and bringing in someone of Sancho's age, it's going to strengthen them positions. You know, Mane's not had the greatest season. Salah, although he scored a lot of goals, you know, he's played a lot of football. Jota's been injured. You know, we do actually need another winger. Obviously, I understand Man United are interested in him. The only stumbling block would obviously be the price. Now, Dortmund didn't want to sell to Man United for any less than 100 or 120 million, was it, last summer? You know, Liverpool aren't going to pay those fees. That's my only concern. And with us not having Champions League football, it does make me feel that Sancho might be a little too far-fetched, unless he's planning on staying at Dortmund for the next year or two, and we're obviously in a better position to put a bid in further down the line. But yeah, Sancho for me would be an absolutely brilliant signing to obviously freshen up our aging attacking options. And finally, we're going to talk about both the last two strikers in the same breath, because I think whoever wins the race to sign either of these players are just going to dominate football to a certain extent over the next decade, and that is Erling Haaland and Kylian Mbappe. Shock, horror. Now, here's my thinking. I don't think either Haaland or Mbappe are going to leave Dortmund or PSG this summer. I don't think anyone can afford them. I actually don't think Man City are even going to try and sign Haaland. There might be paper talk, but I'll be very surprised if they've even got the money to prize him away. I wouldn't be shocked, but I do think Man City are going to maybe go down the route of a Harry Kane this year, just for the tried and tested route, and obviously the fact that he'd cost a lot less than Haaland, but obviously score the same amount of goals for him. So I don't actually think Haaland would go anywhere, because the only other place that he could potentially go is Barcelona or Real Madrid, and they're both skint. Same as Mbappe. Mbappe only wants to move to Real Madrid or Liverpool. He's not going to sign for Liverpool if we haven't got Champions League football. So I just think both of them are going to be staying exactly where they are, at least for the next 12 months. And if that's the case, and Liverpool get back on their horse, sign a few world-class players, get in the top four, if not win the Premier League next season, then I really do think Liverpool would have a chance of signing one of these, especially Mbappe. You know, I do think Liverpool's made for him before he actually gets his move to Real Madrid, obviously where he wants to be. You know, there's talk of Nike and the sponsorship of Liverpool being, you know, a make-weight for obviously a move for him to come to Liverpool. And, you know, it's very clear, you know, he does have a soft spot for Liverpool. So if both stay at their current clubs and Liverpool get back in the Champions League, are dominating the Premier League, which we all want to see again, then why not? You know, why can't we sign Mbappe? But I suppose only time will tell with any of these players that I've mentioned in today's video. And if there's any players that have actually missed off this list that you would really like to see at Liverpool that are obviously realistic signings for us, please do leave them down in the comments below. I will interact with all the comments. It'd be interesting to see what type of players you think that Liverpool need, want, should sign. But yeah, that's it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more Liverpool content. And with that being said, take care, Reds.